Thanks for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith, tonight. Happy Africa Day. The 25th of May marks the annual celebration of the creation in 1963 of the Organization of African Unity, the predecessor of the African Union. To mark the ambitions of a continent, Ghana announces the end of visa fees for all African travelers. Also, the World Health Organization warns DR Congo's neighbours of risks they face from the Ebola outbreak that has caused a suspected 220 deaths so far since it was announced in the middle of the month. The Africa CDC flags 10 other countries as being particularly vulnerable to the spreading infection. And taking a break from political drama at the top, Senegal's president Faye greets returning fans who'd been jailed in Morocco on hooliganism charges during the January Africa Cup of Nations. Faye's face with the pardoned nationals contrasts with accusations of backstabbing his ousted former PM Ousmane Sonko. But first, Ghana leveled up its push for better integration of the continent's economies and travel rules. On Monday, May 25th, marks Africa Day, and the anniversary sees the end of visa fees for all African travelers to Ghana and the introduction of e-visas. Now, the hope is that the changes will make the country an even easier choice for investors and voyagers from the other 53 nations on the continent. And beyond that lies plans to keep positioning Ghana as something of a spiritual home for all people of African descent. Our Ghana correspondent, Justice Baidu, breaks it all down for us.
The new policy to remove visa fees for all Africans intending to travel to Ghana is part of wider immigration reforms that the country is currently implementing. As part of this, a new e-visa has been launched, which allows for applicants to go through the application, do all screenings, and have their passports returned to them without having to visit a physical embassy.
We're giving practical expression to the long-held aspiration that Africans should be able to move freely within their own continent with dignity, opportunity, and purpose. And so, ladies and gentlemen, effective today, from this moment, all holders of African passports traveling to Ghana for business or tourism will apply for visas exclusively via the new online e-visa platform, and they will pay no visa fee.
Concerns have been raised about security and border safety as this new policy kicks in August 2026.
All the same, that visa fee doesn't mean people will come in without consulting. Maybe the immigration will let them flow inside. Because there are some people, because they will take the advantage.
We are also using these opportunities to tell the other countries it should be vice versa. They should also eliminate same. Today, ceremony and the e-launch or e-visa launch is the beginning of the unification of the African Union.
Ghana becomes only the 6th African nation after Togo, Benin, Rwanda, the Gambia, and the Seychelles to remove visa fees for Africans.
Look now at some news in brief. Ghana's optimism about travelling between its neighbours isn't reflected in South Africa. It's actually planning to evacuate 300 of its people from South Africa amidst an ongoing anti-immigration tensions there. Accra says that its nationals are being screened for voluntary relocation after waves of xenophobic attacks have left many Africans living in the continent's top economy feeling unsafe. Weeks of protests there have focused on undocumented migrants accused of diluting an already weak job market. But African migrants of all statuses say that they fear that they might come under attack. There are worries that a June 30th deadline given by protest organisers for the expulsion of migrants could lead to violence. On Monday, ministers held an emergency meeting about the crisis, Pretoria saying that it's stepping up action against undocumented foreigners, but also warning its people not to escalate tensions. Meanwhile, Benin started the week with a new president. Romuald Wadani officially took over from his former boss on Sunday. The former finance minister follows on from Patrice Talon's 2 mandates after winning 94% in the April 12th election. Wadani has a 7-year term ahead of him. He's hoping to keep on building on economic growth that he laid roots down for during his time as finance chief. And he says that translating more of that into tangible improvements for the lives of voters will be a priority for his administration. Meanwhile, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu will be running for a second and final 4-year term in January's upcoming elections. With nearly 11 million votes, he was overwhelmingly backed in his APC party's presidential primaries over the weekend, defeating little-known challenger Stanley Asifu. Tinubu first came to power in 2023. Now, the World Health Organization's warned DR Congo's neighbours of the risk that they face from the Ebola outbreak that has caused a suspected 220 deaths and 900 cases since the middle of the month. 2 healthcare workers in Kampala have also been confirmed to have contracted the virus, bringing Uganda's total number of cases to 7 since the start of the outbreak. In Ituri province in DRC, where the first infection was reported, health workers are still struggling to work with very limited resources.
At this checkpoint in Bunya, healthcare workers are doing what they can with limited means. When drivers and pedestrians cross, they encourage hand washing and check their temperatures.
If we see someone with a very high temperature, we hold them here and we call the ambulance, which will take them to the hospital for appropriate care.
The operation is focused on travellers coming from the nearby mining town of Mongboalu, where many of the first Ebola cases were recorded in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
That is why for people coming from Mongboalu, we have really strict barrier measures, because the epidemic started from there.
Of the more than 900 suspected cases, most are here in the Ituri province, in one of Africa's most densely populated areas that has been consumed by years of violence. Authorities have tried to control the spread by banning gatherings of more than 50 people and by working through mediators to coordinate a response with M23 rebels in areas under the group's control.
People returning home to Goma from Ituri must spend 21 days in quarantine before joining their families.
Still, the virus has spread to North Kivu and South Kivu provinces, as well as to neighbouring Uganda, which on Monday reported 2 new cases, despite having closed its borders. The Director General of the World Health Organization is expected to travel to the region on Tuesday to help address the fast-moving outbreak. But with no treatment or vaccine for the rare Bundibujo variant, the task ahead is complicated.
Well, amidst political tussling at the top in Senegal on Monday night, President Bassirou Faye named a former economist and top banker as the new prime minister. Ahmadou Al Aminou Lô used to head up the BCEAO regional central bank in the country. Now he replaces Ousmane Sonko, who was sacked by Faye on Friday after months of tensions between the two men about how to tackle public debt. Now, Sonko's ousting was an unpopular move, and on Tuesday, lawmakers will decide whether to appoint him as Speaker of Parliament, as the previous Speaker resigned on Sunday in protest at Sonko's removal, moving out of the way so that the former PM could have a shot at taking his place at the heart of Senegalese politics. Now, Sonko was once Faye's mentor, and he would not likely have won the top job if Sonko had not been barred from running in the 2024 election. The fallout between the two men has shocked many Senegalese.
This makes us happy. Sonko will now be able to get back on the campaign trail and resume his political activities. Diomaye and his supporters are mistaken. I don't see how we can prevent Sonko from winning in 2029. We're happy because then it will be us, the youth, who vote. God willing.
Many Senegalese had been waiting for this. The president is the one who makes appointments. It is his prerogative to dismiss and to appoint. I think that if it is for the good of the country, then this is what we should do.
Well, after a turbulent weekend in Senegalese politics, some good news. Fans jailed during the AFCON final in Rabat in January have been released on a pardon from the Moroccan king and arrived home over the weekend. Caitlin Kelly tells us more.
Scenes of joy have been circulating after Senegal welcomed home football fans who were detained in Morocco. The group received a royal pardon from King Mohammed VI on humanitarian grounds on the occasion of the Muslim holiday Eid al-Adha, known as Tabaski here in Senegal. The fans were arrested on charges of hooliganism linked to what was a chaotic Africa Cup of Nations final in January. During the game in Rabat, Senegalese fans attempted to storm the field, and Senegalese players walked off in protest over a late penalty that was awarded to the host Morocco. 18 of those fans were sentenced to up to a year in prison on charges including damaging sporting facilities and violence. They said that this release was a relieving surprise. President Diomaye Faye greeted the fans on their return, donning his very own football jersey and tracksuit for the occasion as the group arrived late last night into the airport in Dakar. This is the first time Faye was seen in public since he sacked his now ex-Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko last weekend. So, although the future of politics is uncertain here in Senegal, locals are celebrating the return of their compatriots to be with their families in time for one of the most important festivals and religious holidays in the calendar.
Caitlin Kelly there for us in the Senegalese capital. That is all we have time for Eye on Africa. Thanks for joining us, though, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.